In this introductory module, we will not go into any mathematical calculation, we will not explain much of engineering, but we will apply simple common sense to find out possible sustainable energy options. Sustainable energy is a new word, and sometimes we get confused to find out which form of energy should be considered as a sustainable and which one is not. So, we will go through certain interactive way of finding what should be the sustainable forms of energy. Let us go to this slide. In this slide, we find that most of the human activities in modern world are depending on energy in one form or another. And this, out of these different energy requirements, most desired form is the electricity. But the supply of electricity to meet our demand, all the effects are not good. You can find out. So, we have to meet our demands, and simultaneously we have to look into the aspects where environmental degradation is also protected. Now, let us try to identify the sustainable energy forms. Are you all sure what are the sustainable forms of energy? Let me have one question. Is conventional coal-based power sustainable? I am sure that most of you will answer no. But if I ask you that is the coal-based power with 100% CO2 capture sustainable, then I am sure that some of you will answer yes, some of you will answer no, and some of you will say maybe. Then if I ask you, is solar power sustainable? Then I am sure that all of you will answer absolutely yes. But here lies the confusion. Let us start exploring the issue more. I am just suggesting that out of these three questions, finding out the sustainable energy is, we need some more clarifications. Like, we need to know whether this is being asked for present, past, or for the future. That means sustainable energy for what time frame, that is very important. Second is whether I am asking it for Kolkata or for Washington or maybe some other place. That means any sustainable energy has got a site dependence too. And also whether you are asking this form of energy sustainability with respect to a small population or it is for the entire, global population. That means the population size may also have an effect on the sustainable energy determination. And then finally, maybe it is not the final options, then we must ask another question, whether it is socially or politically feasible even after technological feasibility. So, the confusion arises. Then how can we identify the sustainable energy if there is no formal definition? Is there any formal definition? Let us see. The formal definition was not for sustainable energy. There was a formal definition on sustainable development. The Brundtland Commission has defined what is the sustainable development, and that is a formal definition, undoubtedly development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs also. That means we must have our standard of living, but not at the cost of our future generation standard of living. So, what is defined is the sustainable development, but we are trying to fit the sustainable energy definition into that definition. So, let us see how we can do that. Now, I am trying to exploring the definitions of sustainable energy based on these fundamental definitions of sustainable development. So, I must say that the sustainable energy form must not be depleted, at least not substantially, because then it cannot meet the need of the future generation. Then at least it must not have substantial environmental degradation, because in that case that will affect our future generation and maybe our generation within our lifespan itself. Then it must not be, cause any social injustice, because that's needed for sustainability itself. And maybe though the previous ones are the most important, but it's still important whether it is politically feasible, whether any other future vulnerability is there that have to be explored, and maybe some more points that is, I cannot include everything in this particular starting module. But sustainability aspect is complex, interrelated, and that must be looked up into an holistic approach. Then just to explain the issue of sustainable energy, let me put some facts and corresponding confusion I myself have and I can share with you. This gives some new insight into the definition and identifying sustainable energy forms. One of the fact is 19th and 20th century saw a massive development through industrial revolution. The main source of that energy in that period is fossil fuel. Then the question is, was the fossil fuel the sustainable energy form during that period? Does it still continue to be the same if we use that fossil fuels with proper technology? Because there is one distinct advantage for long-term use of the fossil fuels. They have a very good, well-established supply chain and simultaneously mature technology. And I must say that the environmental degradation issue regarding using the fossil fuels must have to be taken care of. But the other advantages can be also used for a temporary period of using fossil fuels in a sustainable way. Then nuclear power is virtually inexhaustible. We can't deny the fact. But though it is a fact, confusion arises, as we know, that is it sustainable? Apparently it is sustainable for a much longer time frame. It's absolutely CO2 free. There is no CO2 emission when the nuclear power plant starts operating. Then, but still we find out that it's only the 13% of the total world electricity. Then what is the reason? One of the established reason is it has certain safety related issues associated with it. So the question arises, is the limited use of nuclear energy due to social and political inhibitions out of the security issue? Then we must concentrate more on technologically to address that particular issue so that it may be more useful. Whether nuclear energy is a sustainable form or not, that's a debatable issue. I must not conclude anything, but that has a tremendous potential if we can take care of the safety issue is also another fact. Then the renewable energy is, though it is called out, it is called that the possible future option is only the renewable energy. We have to accept it, because when the fossil fuel reserves will be completely depleted, no other option than to achieve our energy demand, or rather meet our energy demand through the renewable energy forms. But still we know that the fact is a very small fraction of the world electricity is still provided by the renewable energy. So confusion arises, is this the only visible option? There is no other option. The confusion is also associated with should we not that the renewable energy should be considered as different options? That means renewable energy should not be considered as a single option. Solar energy, wind energy, biomass energy, they should not be clubbed as a common head renewable energy. They should be considered as separate forms of energy depending on local constraints and other issues. But in one aspect is very important with respect to renewable energy is the biofuel. If it affects the food security, then obviously we have to think about it very seriously. Then one issue is very important, maybe the fact number 4. Saving of 1 unit of energy is always better than generating 1 unit, whatever may be the efficiency. Because this, how can we achieve it? This can be only done by energy efficiency, demand side management, etc. So the confusion arises, is the best sustainable option of energy is not at all an energy, it's a form of energy. It's the energy efficiency and the energy conservation, that's the best possible sustainable option regarding the energy. In that case, the demand side management and the energy efficiency increase is undoubtedly one of the best, if not the best possible option as the sustainable energy. Then if I sum up whatever we have discussed, the first point is undoubtedly we have to concentrate on renewable energy development on wider scale, because within a definite time frame all our fossil fuels are going to be depleted. So development of renewable energy technology to meet our future demand is the absolute requirement. Then to improve technologies for harnessing the fossil and nuclear energy is an important issue, obviously, because when we will switch over from the fossil world, if we call it fossil fuel energy based world, to the renewable world, that means when the entire form of energy will be supplied from different renewable forms, then obviously this fossil and nuclear may not be needed. But during this transition period, to meet our energy demand and to allow our civilization to survive, there is no other option than to use the fossil and nuclear energy technology use in a proper way. So we have to improve these technologies. Then to make major improvements in energy efficiency and energy conversion principles and conservation, energy management is an important issue, and I believe that it is one of the best possible option in sustainable energy form, because if we can make the best possible energy efficiency and energy use and energy conservation, then undoubtedly it will not only reduce the depletion of existing fossil fuels, it will reduce the environmental degradation, and overall growth will be there at a lower economic investment. However, these recommendations may change in future, because what appears at present to be the sustainable option, as the conditions and constraints changes, then in future those different new constraints or condition may come up. So we have to redefine our requirement with respect to sustainable energy requirement. So no final recommendation can be made for the sustainable energy options. Thank you.